RCB is the best place to start. And not because I'm hosting the show, but because everyone wants to know a little bit more about RCB, always do. Dan, talk to me. I mean, they're pretty sorted because they have Hasidanga, Maxwell, Hazelwood, and Faf. So you don't really need to tinker with their 4 foreigners in that starting 11. But what are they looking for? What are some of the names they'll be circling in?
So for me, if I just sort of gone through what I think a kind of predicted 11 might be to start with the gaps, obviously from released players and perhaps gaps that they might want to address based on their performances in the recent season. Now, looking at their batting overall last season, they had one of the lowest boundary percentages in the whole tournament. They also qualified despite having a negative net boundary percentage in the tournament as well, which is quite an outlier. And we'll go on to talk about that with some other teams as well later on. They struggled against opposition spinners with 22 average, 125 strike rate, and 109 strike rate in the power play shows a lack of firepower up top. I think the teams tried to match up spinners against Faf and Kohli up front, and generally the strategy worked pretty well. The thing is, I'm not sure that strategy is going to particularly change up top in 23. Now, looking at their squad, I kind of feared for their batting a little bit last season. Generally, if Maxwell or Kohli or Faf didn't have a big game, then I think that there was a few question marks there whether the other players could contribute. Dinesh Karthik had a season I think that not many of us expected. Is it too much to expect him to have a similar season this year? Quite possibly. So I think that as you said earlier in the intro, their overseas players, I think, assuming Maxwell's fit from his broken leg, are pretty set in stone. And I think therefore their targets are going to be probably more to do with domestic batters. The problem is there's not that many high quality domestic batters in the market, and they've got less than 9 crore to find one as well. So I think that rules out someone like Mayank Agarwal, for example, probably will cost them a big chunk of that 8.75 that they've got remaining. Will they try and take a KS Bharat back or a Avanish Pandey cheaply? I don't know, but there's not many options for them there. So I think that's going to be their real challenge in auction is this domestic batter problem that they have.
No, absolutely. I mean, I resonate those thoughts, especially watching them every game. Let's just give the viewers just an indication of how much they have in terms of their purse. 8.75, like Dan mentioned, that they have. So they won't be really splurging or splashing the cash, I say. But they have those 2 overseas slots available. Maybe those are just backup players because I think they let go of Shafeen Rutherford as well, which I think played 1 game in that last season for them. So, look, RCB pretty much set in stone, like Dan said. Boys, do you want to come in on RCB here, or is it straightforward and can we move on?
No, I would just want to know from Dan. I mean, I think it would be, if we'll make this show interesting by just asking all of us here, the 3 players, if they want to, I mean, if they can somehow manage to buy, not necessarily saying that they will be able to, but let's say if they can, they have the entire bouquet to choose from, and the 3 players that will strengthen their team further, who would they be?
Well, for me, I think that Agarwal makes a lot of sense for them because then that would allow Kohli to maybe drop down to 3. So you're not quite exposing 2 players who are weak against spin at the top of. Well, I'd say weak against spin. I'd say more lacking intent against spin, lacking a high strike rate against spin at the top, which gives the opposition kind of carte blanche to bowl left arm spin against Duplessis and Kohli all day. The problem is, like I said, the scarcity of resources in the market in this mini auction is a real dynamic that I think that a lot of people don't appreciate. Just casual observers don't appreciate that there's this real big supply and demand dynamic that is so important. There's certain areas where there's a little bit of oversupply. For example, sort of mediocre domestic anchor batters. You can get a lot of them, but high quality batters in this auction pool, I think, are really quite thin on the ground.
I mean, it makes you think about who they'll actually buy. You gave us Mayank. I'm surely thinking Freddie Wilde and all of them in RCB are hoping that it won't be mine because it'll be a dogfight for them. But realistically, who the other international picks that they could possibly go for, Dan? Give me 3 names because I know I'm putting you on the spot here. So tried to earlier, and I'm going to impose myself further. 3 names.
So I think that the overseas is tricky for them with the combos that they're going to have with their team. Obviously, they've got Finn Allen already, as well as a kind of a spare opener, who I actually rate pretty highly. So it'd be nice to see him get more game time in 23. Will they be attracted by, say, a Harry Brook, who's in fantastic form? It was just sitting in Test cricket as well with 3 centuries against Pakistan in this current season. Domestically in England, he's had a great year or two as well. So he's clearly a player on a massive upward curve. Freddie's worked with Riley Rousseau over the Invincibles, so perhaps that could be a budget, base price. But the problem is his base price is high at 2CR. That's potentially. And I think that the really expensive all rounders, the Sam Currans, the Cameron Greens, the Ben Stokes of this world, I think they're going to be well out of their price range, unfortunately, for them. And I think that given the fact that they were so reliant on Dinesh Karthik come down the order last year, having a really high quality all rounder, someone who can bowl to the top 6, Curran or Stokes would have really benefited them as well.
Yeah, I mean the prospects of that.
I just want to throw one name. I think Ben Duckett could be a very good option for them because he can play spin well. He's a left-hander also, so he can be that backup for Glenn Maxwell, and he can be cheaply available as well. I don't know what his base price is, but I think he can be available at his base price also. And you see, Faf as a backup and Finn Allen, Josh Hazelwood has a backup in David Willey. You don't get much backups for players like Wanindu Hasranga, but just in case you want a backup for Maxwell, so I think Ben Duckett can be a really good pick. He can open as well. He can bat 1 down. He can bat at number 4. So I think Ben Duckett could be a really smart pick.
A great pick for any team really who's looking for that flexible, multi-skilled batter. Someone he's not a big hitter. He's not going to smash sixes like a Andre Russell kind of player. He's more of a 4 hitter, but 360 degrees, wristy player, hits the ball in unconventional areas. As you say, excellent player against spin, left-handed, and can keep wicket as well. So there's a lot of positives to Ben Duckett. And I mean, I think that perhaps 2 months ago you would have thought that he wouldn't necessarily have attracted a bid. Although I really do rate him very highly in English domestic cricket. I think him and Moeen Ali are the best players at spin in the country, and in T20 I'm talking about. But obviously he's done very well for England when he's come in recently as well. So I think that's kind of pushed him a little bit more in terms of that higher profile as well. Sometimes with these auctions, it is all about hitting form and getting your name in the shop window at the right time, and Duckett, Brook, etc. have done that.
Guys, I mean, the only spanner in the works is I can't find Duckett's name in the auction list.
That cannot be true. I mean,
I tried. I'm trying to search him by Ben, by Duckett, by whatever combination it is, but I seem to I've found 6 Bens there, but not Ben Duckett.
Yeah, I just tried to find him as well. Maybe he needs to find a new agent.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, to close this RCB chat, I mean, I know this is not going to happen, but I really feel, and a lot of teams would be interested in Stokes, but I think one team where Stokes will actually fit in the current scenario is RCB. They're not going to do it. I mean, replacing Faf with Stokes as an opener would actually strengthen their batting lineup. It will give them a left-handed option. It will give them an all-rounder. But obviously, this is not going to happen.
But why can Faf open with Stokes and then replace essentially Ben Stokes with Josh Hazelwood, right? Because you can give Stokes a new ball as well.
I mean, that will just make the RCB bowling like older times. So I mean, that would be pretty tricky. The other bit is, if I'm from an RCB perspective, I would be worried about is Josh Hazelwood's fitness, because he has been quite injury prone of late. So if I'm in their setup, I would be looking for alternates and maybe someone like a Reece Topley maybe.
as well.
Yeah. There's Tamal Mills. I think there's also Jai Richardson, Riley Meredith, Sean Abbott, all these kind of quicks. Nathan Coulton is another one who can pretty much contribute in both departments. But look, RCB some good shouts over there from all three of y'all. Ben Duckett, a little scratchy, but I was expecting Shubh to actually say someone like Travis Head, who could be a perfect replacement for Maxwell. Let's see how that
Travis
goes.
Head again, yeah, for sure.
Travis Head, yeah.
Travis Head is another good option. Also, Rasi Vanderdussen can fit in well. He also plays spin pretty nicely. He can play those sweep shots and throw you. You're forgetting the way he smashed India in Delhi only a few months ago. So
I know. It's just too much of a gamble.
Your team.
But yeah,
So, Dan, just to give you context, Shubh here has a soft corner for all those mid-table kind of players.
And South African cricketers as well. I thought you were going that side.
The 15-16% boundary hitters.
Yeah.